Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to another edition of the Pewter Report Podcast, powered by Celsius. We've got another special show, 3 weeks in a row, guys, with a Bucs player. Special guest today is going to be Bucs right tackle Luke Goedeke. Excited to have him on. I'm JC Allen. I'll be your host with the most on this evening adventure of the podcast. And with me, I've got my right-hand man, Adam Slivon. We're going to be breaking it down, talking to Luke, finding out his impressions on this new offensive system after playing in last year's offensive system, find out some of his likes, dislikes, what was the hardest part of the transition last year, and then moving back to his normal position, who he hangs out with on the team, all that fun stuff, and what he does in his downtime. So without further ado, let me bring them both on here, Adam Slivon and Luke Goedeke. Luke the Lifter, how are you doing, my man? How's your offseason been?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys very much for having me. The offseason has been amazing. I mean, first NFL offseason, and been getting in a lot of good work and everything, and still enjoying the downtime as well.
Yeah, that's one thing a lot of people don't realize, that when you come into your rookie year, there's so much going on. That whole offseason, half of your offseason is dedicated to 40 times and broad jumps, long jumps, and all that stuff. So you're really focusing away from the football activities, things that are going to make you as a better football player, and more on the testing and results and stuff like that. So coming into your first off season where you know the town, for the most part, the team, there's obviously been some turnover this year, but the city, everything that's going on, obviously learning a new playbook this year, but just how much better, how has it been this offseason, not having to worry about all that stuff in the back of your mind and just focus on getting better at your craft?
Oh, I mean, it's been night and day. I mean, like you said, you come in as in your rookie year and you're training basically for the underwear Olympics at the combine. Kind of that football training goes out the door a little bit, if you say, and it's just a relief to just be able to focus directly on football. And even when you get to like whatever team you end up being on, a lot of times they put you up in a hotel, and that's not a place that you can truly call home or anything like that. So just at the end of the day, you're going back to a hotel, and there's really not much you can do. Not true. It's not truly relaxing when you get home, like when you have your own apartment or house, like once you go in the first true off season.
Yeah, I mean, you get to focus a little bit more on your craft. You get that comfortability going. And for you, it's even a little bit more comfortable this offseason because you're making a move from left guard, which you played last year, back to your normal natural position at right tackle. How relieved were you when you were told that you were going to be moving back there? And how much more does it put your mind at ease? How much more comfortable are you there? And just talk about that transition back to your spot.
I'd say I'm definitely relieved, but at the same time, I felt like just as the year went on, especially the last game, I was really picking up at left guard and everything. But I mean, yeah, I'm definitely relieved to be back at my home position. But I mean, with that being said, if they ever needed me over at left guard or at right guard, like I'd be fine playing that again. Just having that comfortability again. It feels good and everything, but like you said, to be back at right tackle, yeah, it feels great to be that's where I learned to play the offensive line position. So it definitely feels good to be back.
So your predecessor at right tackle, Tristan Wirfs, you've kind of gotten to know him throughout the offseason, even going fishing with him just a couple of weeks ago. What can you speak on to like your friendship with him, and how has he helped you kind of make that move back to right tackle? You've already played that in college, but playing it in the pros is a whole different ball game. So what has he meant for you?
Yeah, Tristan, he's probably the guy who I'm closest with on the team. I consider him one of my best friends. And with that being said, every day we attack OTAs, just trying to get better. Just talk about different techniques, what he uses, what our coach wants and everything. Just what we see and what we need to continue to work on every day, and just pick one or two things a day, because you can really get overwhelmed trying to really improve on 5-6 different things every day. So really trying to hone in on those little things, and then just with that, being able to bounce ideas back and forth off of each other, because obviously he's arguably the best right tackle in the NFL. So I mean, it's great to have that. Relationship and someone who's there just speak about in football terms, as well as a great friend who, like you said, we do spend time away from football and do some fun stuff like fishing and whatnot.
Now I got to ask you, who's stronger between the two of you? Is it Tristan Wirfs, or do you think you have the case?
I'm not gonna confirm or deny that. I mean, me and him, we definitely go back and have some friendly battles in the weight room. I always call him the Moose because he's about as strong as they come and just a giant mutant human being. But there's some lifts he has me and I have him on some certain lifts. I'll just say that. But he is definitely an alien of a human being.
Well, there's video evidence of him saying you're stronger. You guys were on that fishing charter, it was a really awesome watch. I mean, you caught a freaking shark out there, man.
Yeah.
But he goes at one point, he goes, "Oh no, Luke's stronger than me." So he was struggling reeling those fish. And talk about that. That's one of your biggest things that you do in the offseason, your downtime, catching sharks out there. You guys almost had that wahoo. Just talk about the experience, ability to get out there, kind of. Fishing's such a peaceful sport. You just kind of let your mind go and just bond with your teammates and just kind of unwind and release.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fishing. I mean, I grew up fishing and everything. Tristan grew up fishing as well. And just to be able to kind of have that release from football. I mean, if you just 24/7 focusing on football, it'll just eat you up inside. So having that kind of release, like you said, to go fishing and just relax. That's so key to everything, and how peaceful and how beautiful it is out in the water. And then being able to do that with your teammates is huge. Me and him actually just we went off another fishing trip this last week and caught a bunch of red snapper and red group snap, or not mangrove snap. So it's just great time to spend with friends and everything, and great to get out there.
And Florida's got year-round fishing, so you got to love that. I mean, ice fishing's fun. I'm sure from being a guy from up north, you did your fair share of ice fishing as well. But being able to get out on the boat, even in the wintertime, quote unquote, it's still nice out there. Have you reeled one of those Goliaths yet?
I caught a small Goliath when I was younger, but I haven't caught like a true big, like 500-600 pounder yet. I do have some buddies on the East Coast that want me to come out and try and catch one. So we'll see. Maybe in the future.
Nice. So you briefly touched on, obviously, making the move back to right tackle, but you briefly touched on being more comfortable at left guard. And here we have you in the playoff game, actually. You got that start. And Pro Football Focus, they have their own algorithms, how they grade players, whatever. But your last two games against the Falcons, where you played at right tackle, and then in this game, where your highest rated games, you mentioned starting to feel more comfortable at that position. Obviously, you're no stranger to setbacks. A shoulder injury in high school almost had you quit football altogether. You had that knee injury in college. You're starting to get into that realm for moving from tight end to tackle. That gives you a setback. Last year was a foot injury, losing that starting spot, partially due to that as well. But the drive kept going. Just where does that come from? And how did you kind of were able to bounce back and in that final game of the season at a position that, I mean, we hear Tristan just said it the other day, he's like a baby out there learning everything new on the other side, and he's just going from tackle to tackle. You're going from tackle to interior. So the drive, the motivation, and just to be able to get to that spot where, you were out there, you were more than efficient at the left guard position, and just how you maintain that confidence in that level.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something I definitely grew up with. I would never be here if it wasn't for my drive and determination. I like to think like hard work beats talent at the end of the day. So I might be talented, but I'm going to outwork you so I can beat anyone when it comes down to it. And I just play with a chip on my shoulder. I mean, I'm from a small town in Wisconsin. Like you said, I've had setbacks in my life. I've faced adversity. I know how to overcome that. So when I did face some this last year, yeah, I realized, yeah, I need to be better. I had a foot injury. I need to come back stronger from that. I needed to regain confidence, just a multitude of different aspects. And I feel like at the end of the season, I really showed like, yeah, I can overcome that adversity. And yeah, like I said, transitioning from one side to the other is a lot more difficult than people think. And from outside to inside and to the other side is a whole nother ball game in itself. So it it's just been in my nature, I guess, just that drive and determination, try and be the best version of myself on the football field. I really take a whole lot of pride in work and being able to help my teammates and being able to help my team win as many games as possible.
Nice.
So you've had quite the unique journey, and he kind of brought it up about like starting out as a walk-on, going from a D3 school to a D1 school, and kind of just like the hustle that you had, making your own clips and sending them to Central Michigan to like put your name out there. Can you speak up more on just like your journey and when you realized that you were going to be an offensive lineman? Because you grew up as a running back, cameoed at quarterback, and was a fan of Tom Brady, and now just being an offensive lineman. What has the journey been like for you?
Yeah, the journey has been crazy, but without that journey, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm very thankful and give all my glory to God for it. But yeah, it's been a crazy one to say the least. Like you said, I started at D3 school, played tight end. You touched on it earlier. I almost stopped playing football after my senior year of high school, and it was about a month left in summer before I decided, no, this is my childhood dream. I'm gonna attack it, and kind of fell in love back with the sport and everything. But yeah, transitioning from that D3 school to the D1 school and then into the offensive line room, it was definitely a whirlwind. Learning a brand new position, what the kick step is. I mean, that took me a while just to get down in itself. Then on top of that, putting on weight, and not just putting on not putting on fat weight. I wanted to put on weight the right way. So just eating the right food and working out religiously. It was definitely a transition, and it took a while. I mean, I'm still growing, and I'll always continue to grow. But that's where I take great pride in my work and put in countless hours to just be the best version of myself.
And that worked.
Is it true that you oh, sorry, JC.
I was just gonna say that work. Obviously, we heard about the bring your tractor to school day, and so that starts on the farm, right? I mean, that starts waking up and having to deal with crops and animals and all that stuff, and that's where where that comes from?
So I didn't grow up on a farm, but a bunch of my classmates did and everything. But it was just kind of a drive that was instilled in me and my brother from our parents, especially my mom. I mean, she was a single mother for a while, just providing for me and my older brother. And I just always had that drive growing up, as far as I can remember. Like when I was 4 and 5 years old, I was doing stuff like doing ladder drills, running with parachutes on my back, stuff like that. Just trying to get better and better, trying to do whatever I could do. So it's just always been in my blood.
So where'd you get the tractor from? Did you guys? Everyone just had tractors?
Yeah, everyone had tractors. It was like one. There'd be like 60 tractors just driven to school.
That's awesome.
They'd have like a little cookout in the parking lot and whatnot. Yeah, it's quite still one. I think some people would even take their riding lawnmower tractors to school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So yeah, it's a big ordeal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Being a fellow Wisconsinite myself, what was your favorite part growing up in Wisconsin? Was it the dairy products, maybe Culver's, Quick Trip, just kind of that small town feel? What did you enjoy about it?
I would say the people. So I grew up in a really small town, but with that we had probably 8 to 10 neighbor kids who we would play. We had a big field in our backyard, and we would play tackle football back there, baseball, kick the can, golf, you name it. Like we'd always be doing stuff like that, and just kept me really active as a kid. Mom would be like, "All right, when the street lights turn on, come home," stuff like that. And I think a lot of kids are missing that nowadays, kind of that being outside all the time, having friends, just really taking it in. A lot of people are just so stuck on electronics and everything. It's sad because that was definitely my highlight of being in Wisconsin, growing up in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm from where I was from. You know, the street lights come on. That's when you come in. You could take your bike and ride 10 miles down the road. No one would say a thing. It's tough. You know, times have changed. So it's you got a lot of weirdos out there you got to watch out for, and you really can't let your little kids run the neighborhood like you used to be able to, like we used to be able to. You know, I'm a little bit older than both of you, but still, it's crazy. But I definitely agree. Those kick the can. You brought that up. A smile on my face. You know, hide and seek, like massive hide and you got like 20 kids out there. That used to be the best stuff, man. And it's sad, but yeah, growing up in a small town like that, you learn to appreciate those things and those people a little bit more. I'm more interested in Culver's order though. What's your go-to at Culver's?
Ooh, Culver's is usually a triple butter burger with cheese and just ketchup on. And I get probably like 8 chicken tenders with ranch and barbecue, and then some fries, and then maybe a scoop or two of in a dish of either the flavor of the day if it's good or just vanilla.
No curds?
No curds. I've had way better cheese.
Right.
Ah,
I'm sure. We didn't have Culver's up north, so when I came down here, I found Culver's. I'm like, this is the best in the world. Yes. So
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah, Culver's is a great spot for sure.
so speaking on like being from like a small town, there's another guy on the Buccaneers who's from a small town, just got
Right.
drafted, Cody Mauk. Uh, what are your impressions of him? And it seems like you guys have started to build a relationship. He mentioned on the podcast a couple weeks ago that he's someone that he's kind of looked up to you, and because you guys run drills together, being on the right side of the offensive line. What can you say about him?
Yeah, Cody, he's a great guy. I mean, I watched him coming up through the draft and everything. Obviously, have to touch on the 2 missing front teeth. But yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, his work ethic through practice is great. Like you mentioned, yeah, we're running drills together. It's just gonna take some time just to build that communication aspect of things, which we're definitely working on, and it's getting better day by day. But yeah, I mean, overall, putting in a lot of work. He's looking solid out there and everything, and he's really coming along nicely. And he's a great kid overall out off the field as well. So really happy to be able to play next to him.
Like you too, he's making a transition from tackle to interior like you did last year, and also a side switch. He played left tackle mostly, played a couple games at right tackle, but mostly left tackle his entire collegiate career. Now he moves over to that right guard spot. What advice have you given him? Because obviously we know there were some early season struggles. Not that you weren't facing potential Pro Bowlers and Hall of Famers those first 8 weeks of the season. I mean, you had Grady Jarrett, you had Chris
Hayward.
Jones, Cam. You had just a litany of guys to say, all right, here's your new position. Go block these Pro Bowlers. But what kind of advice have you given him?
My advice, I mean, it's easy to get down on yourself when you get beat and everything, but we're playing the National Football League. You're playing against the best athletes in the world. You're going to get beat sometimes, and they get paid to play too. So you're going to meet some monsters out there and everything. You just got to head up, and if you have a bad play, you just got to move on. 'Cause that's the worst thing that can happen. You have a bad play, and then you let it spiral.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's one of the things I was reading a recent interview of yours. You said that one of your things that you need to work on at this next level was kind of not dwelling on those negative plays, moving on and having that, I don't know if you're a Ted Lasso fan, but goldfish kind of mind, where it's just, whoop, it's gone out of your mind and you're on to the next play, which is so important, especially in the NFL where, exactly like you said, you're going up against the best of the best and they're paid to beat you and do their job. How did you develop that? How did that come to the forefront where you were? Did you get advice from teammates? Was it coaches? Was it just something that you had to look inside and say, I can't worry about this last rep I got beat on. I'm a glass eater. I need to go put someone on their ass and make up for the next play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was just talking with my teammates, especially Josh Wells last year. He's a great vet to have in the room. I'm a guy who really puts a lot of pressure on myself to be the best I can be and everything, and I don't take losing lightly and everything. So it was just one of those things where I can't put as much pressure on myself. Like I've said to Cody, like, you're gonna lose sometimes. It's gonna happen in the NFL.
Right.
You just can't let it spiral out of control, and you need to come back from that and learn from your mistakes. So just having some sit down conversations with Josh really helped last year and everything. And I wish him nothing but the best in Jacksonville. And I hope he knows that everyone here in Tampa misses him.
Was there anything specifically he said to you that really spoke to you?
Just that football is he's just like in life regards. Just football is a small aspect of life. Right. Just so much more to life than just football. I thought that really spoke to me, and just putting our faith into God and everything like that. I thought that really helped as well. Like, God always has a plan for us, so I thought those were great pieces that I really take with me.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, there was so much pressure too last year, right? Obviously, Tom Brady's there, Super Bowl or bust mentality, and you're making this transition, you're making this, and you're going against such excellent talent. You had your struggles, and I'm sure that you'll admit that too. There was times you struggled, and there was times you faced criticism from fans, from media, especially on social media. We know that can be the devil. How did you handle that? How did you? Was it those conversations with Josh? Was it something else? I think I remember you saying you shut your Twitter down for a little while, just kind of get away from that noise. How do you block out that noise, but also how do you let that noise motivate you?
Yeah, I don't need the noise to motivate me. I know what I have to do to get better. I have enough motivation within myself to definitely motivate myself. But yeah, I did shut down my Twitter. I'm still not on Twitter. You could play at an all-pro level and someone still has something about you on social media. So I just take it with a grain of salt. Everyone's going to have their things to say. But, at the end of the day, they're on their couch and we're out there playing. So really doesn't make much of a difference to me. But, yeah, just kind of block out that noise. And like I said, I motivate myself enough. I work hard enough the way it is. So I don't need motivation from anyone.
So you've definitely overcame enough adversity just to get to this point. So it's easy to see just how self-motivating you are and just having that drive. What did you learn from last season and the adversity it brought? Because it seemed like throughout the year you grew in a lot of ways. And as JC mentioned earlier, with playing your best game of the season at left guard after some may have said that you struggled there to begin the season facing these Pro Bowl defensive tackles. So what did you really gain from it, and how is it helping you this offseason heading into your second year?
Yeah, I think a big thing was just becoming more and more comfortable on that left side and everything, and becoming more and more comfortable with the offense and my teammates as well. It just took some time to grow and everything. And for a while I was on the scout offense, so I got to still play against starting defense week after week. So that really helped me. Just gaining more and more confidence, like I said, at that left guard position, just getting down that coordination, because that's a huge thing. Anyone will tell you, switching from one side to the other, like you touched on, Tristan said, it feels like you're a newborn baby out there. Like, don't know how your body's supposed to move on that side. You've been coordinated all your life to move one way, and now you have to move a separate way, and with that, go against the top athletes in the world. So it just definitely became more comfortable as the season went on.
One more question. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, not just growing on the field, but off the field. Like Coach Bowles last year, one of his key phrases was iron sharpens iron. And your Twitter handle is Luke the Lifter. So have to ask, What's your favorite workout, and where did you get that name from?
So actually, it's a funny story. So me and my stepdad, I had to come up with an email maybe when I was like 12 years old. And he's like, all right, well, we couldn't come up with something. So he's like, what's something you really like to do? And that's when I first got into lifting and whatever. And I was big into lift. And I'm like, oh, I like to lift. And he's like, well, your first name's Luke. And we just put the on there and then the lifter. And there it became. So that's how that became about. But yeah, iron definitely sharpens iron. So being able to go against that top tier competition is only going to make you better and help you grow from it.
Especially going up against like Vita Vea, JTS over there, Shaq when he's healthy. You got some playmakers on your side of the ball as well. Just transition from last year to the offseason and then into this new season because there's a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement. What's the biggest thing that you said, okay, last season's over with. This offseason, I really want to focus on this. I want to get better at this. You mentioned you can't fix 6 things at once. So what was that first thing that you had on your checklist to say, let's get better at this thing to improve for next year?
Well, obviously a new position, so the change is a little different than what I maybe would have worked on last year. But just getting down my set lines to start off with that right tackle, not oversetting and just being inside out on the defender in the pass game. Then from there, we're starting to work more on throwing that outside hand more and being precise with the target and everything. Nice. And that's something we'll continue to work on next week in mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, and mandatory minicamp, new coach, new scheme. That offensive scheme last year, it was a little dated. It felt like you guys had so many struggles in the running game. There were a lot of plays, I know, talking to some of your teammates, that you guys felt really confident in, especially running the ball, that just weren't called, things that just didn't go the way. There was a lot of there wasn't a lot of cohesiveness, I like to say. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, Byron Leftwich, but there was a lot of things that didn't go the right way. How excited are you for this breath of fresh air? Dave Canales coming in, new system that's really going to show you, I think, really show off the offensive line's athleticism, your ability, because we know you're a hell of a run blocker, like most of the guys on the team, your ability to get out in space, play and run. So this new offensive, how excited are you and how optimistic are you that you guys are going to be able to turn this dead last running on and really be able to pound the rock and move people at will?
Oh, I'm extremely excited. It's like a kid on Christmas morning getting an offense like this. So like you said, yeah, we'll be running the ball a lot more, being able to showcase athleticism, get guys in space, getting guys moving and everything. It's definitely a breath of fresh air. This new offense is definitely more offensive line friendly than drop back passing 50 to 60 times a game. Kind of puts a lot of strain on offensive line when defensive line just has to pin their ears back every game. So yeah, it's definitely night and day already, and you can definitely see it in wide receiver groups, the tight end groups, the running back groups, how relieved they are that there's a change up in the offensive scheme and everything.
A couple new quarterbacks there. Tom Brady's not there, who you were a big fan of growing up. How is it to play with him, first off? And then Baker's in here, infectious personality. You're familiar with Trask already, especially, running the scout teams with him at scout team quarterback. What was it like playing with Tom? And then what are your impressions of the quarterback competition so far this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, playing with Tom was obviously a dream come true of mine, and being able to block for him was an absolute honor. I mean, I have nothing but the utmost respect for the guy. I mean, he is literally the greatest of all time at the game of football. So it was definitely a remarkable experience just to gain knowledge from him and how poised he was and how he always was so detailed in his work and took ownership if he made a mistake or something. I thought that really spoke volumes and stuff like that. But yeah, the new quarterback battle with Kyle and Baker, both are great guys, two of my close friends on the team. I think they're both showing out so far. I mean, Both of them have their throws. Both of them have their days, poised and everything. And it's just going to grow and get better and better as we go. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. You look at the team this year, you can kind of sense the buzz with obviously Tom Brady's a GOAT, but having two new guys in there, well, not necessarily new, but two new guys competing for that starting spot with the inside this offense that really showcases everyone's ability, I think, to just go out there and make plays, whether you're offensive lineman, wide receiver, running back, tight ends. I think when you look at this offense, what it's going to allow you guys to do, move the ball. It definitely has I know a lot of fans excited, and just talking to everybody on the team, a lot of the players on the team excited as well. When you look at the coaching staff, there was a lot of turnover on it. New running backs, new wide receivers. They kept the tight end coach, and they kept their offensive line coaches, Coach Goedeke and Coach Gilbert. Now, last year, because you were learning the interior, you're mostly with Coach Goedeke. But moving back to the outside, now you're both with Coach Gilbert. Which one of those guys coaches you the hardest? Which one do you obviously they both bring a lot of knowledge to the but which one are you leaning to if you had to pick a favorite coach there between the two of those guys?
I mean, I couldn't really pick a favorite between the two. I mean, they're both outstanding coaches and great guys, and just what I've learned from them in literally only a year it's been eye-opening what I've learned about the game of football. And both of them, just the energy they bring every day and working on the small things and always focusing on being detailed in your work. I feel like that's really huge, and just pushing us in general as an offensive line and expecting the best out of us and nothing less, and holding us all accountable. I think that's really huge in everything. So I wouldn't be able to pick a favorite. They're both great coaches and great guys.
Two different coaching styles a little bit. Gilbert's a little more quieter. He's a little more methodical when he teaches you. And Goody, he just I can hear him screaming and dropping F-bombs all the way across the other side of the field. So I always say I love going over and watching them coach, because you can just see the passion, you can see the detail that they put into it, and that you guys take away from it. Other than that, I've got just two more questions that I want to wrap the show up in.
Okay.
Adam, I don't know if you have any other questions for Luke before we get out of here, or anything you want to bring up.
Just we kind of mentioned it, like heading into next season, there's some aspects of your game that you want to improve on. You always want to get better. Is there something in particular that you've been focusing on? You mentioned like your hand placement and like your sets and stuff like that. Is there anything else? Obviously, don't need to get stronger, but just like formations and things like that. Is there anything that you're looking to improve on besides that?
I'd say probably getting just overall knowledge of the game and how to read defenses and everything like that. Really looking to learn more about that, just being able to have better pre-snap reads and stuff like that.
So one of the things you did when you were coming out of college was you sought the advice of some pros already. One of those guys was Joe Staley. Have you still been working out with him this offseason at all? Have you been contacting him, picking his brain for advice as you make the move back out to tackle?
Yeah, I did actually go out to California and train with him for about a week and a half, and we definitely are still in contact and everything. And I am able to pick his brain whenever I have questions, and having that mentor is really huge and everything, because obviously is premier left tackle and everything, and so I'm very thankful for him.
And one of the knocks on, obviously coming out that people thought, same thing with Cody Mock actually, is that why you guys would need to make the kick into the interior was arm length. I remember reading some interviews, and you were talking about guys who have shorter arms. One of those guys plays for the Colts right now. You said you like to study a lot of his film. And former teammates with the Colts right now too, Renard Raymond. So what do you say about if it's a misconception or about tackles with maybe less than ideal arm length being able to get the job done in the NFL, even against some of the best pass rushers? Because now they're lining up on both sides. It used to be the best guy would just line up would be best on left, and now it's best on right, best on left. They switch and rotate all the time.
Yeah, I mean these are the only arms I know. I mean, they say like the ideal is like 33 and a half or something, whatever they say. I think mine were 33 one day, 32 and a half the next. You're telling me a half an inch to an inch makes that much of a difference if I get blocked by, if I have an extra long finger? I buy it. There's maybe if you have 36 to 37 inch arms, yeah, absolutely, you're gonna be at an advantage. But I don't really believe in that. I mean, these are my arms. These are what I know. I've blocked people all my life with these arms. So
that's a good answer. That's a great answer, actually. Just kind of wrap it up with, obviously, you got honored this offseason. You got your jersey retired in your high school. What did that mean to you? How did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. Just coming from a small town, it's not like that something like that happens every day. Just seeing the community come out and everything, being able to go home and see some of my friends and some of the other people around the community, and then afterwards sign some autographs or whatever for probably an hour and a half, taking pictures with families and everything, and just seeing the smiles on kids' faces, and really spoke volumes to me on the impact I've made in the community, and I want to continue making the community there.
That's awesome. Now, I did early on in the show, I noticed your shirt. Love the shirt. I actually watched that clip today. It came up. I was scrolling on TikTok and it came up, and it was actually behind the scenes of how it came out. I love watching that stuff. But such an impactful moment in the world of wrestling. I got to take it, you're a wrestling fan?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm a big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan.
All right.
Definitely. Yeah. Four different ones of his shirts.
It's definitely the best. He's not my number one.
Oh yeah, he's definitely my favorite by far. I'll put on YouTube sometimes his best like clips and stuff like that. So
he was great. We asked Cody last week what his Mount Rushmore of wrestlers were. Do you have a quick Mount Rushmore wrestlers?
I'd probably say Stone Cold, The Undertaker, maybe Rey Mysterio.
Oh.
And then Santino Morales, just because he does the Cobra or whatever.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to thank you for your time. It was awesome to have you on. I know we kept you over a little bit, but such great, insightful information from you. Really, everyone's really pulling for you this year to solidify that right tackle spot and just man it for years. So we want to thank you again for coming on behalf of the fans, on behalf of Pewter Report. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you out there at Mandatory Minicamp next week.
Absolutely. I'll see you guys out there. Take care.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. There you guys have it. Luke the Lifter gave us a solid 40 minutes, kept him over a little bit, but great information. I really think, last year helped him tremendously. Really, there was those struggles. Again, we talked about it going up against those murderers row defensive tackles, but being able to find himself, ground himself. And then when he did get that opportunity later in the season at right tackle and both at left guard in the playoff game, as we mentioned, graded out, two of the highest graded games that he had. And moving back to his original position, arm length isn't everything, and he's got the arm strength. We know that as one of the strongest guys on the team. But yeah, I thought that was a great interview. Got a lot of insight into what makes him tick. It was good talking to him.
Yeah, for sure. And compared to like all the other Bucs rookies last year, I don't think there was a guy who had as many obstacles to success as Luke Goedeke. But by the end of the season, he still had solid games against the Falcons and the Cowboys, but just moving from right tackle to left guard, it isn't easy. And that's something that he alluded to. And just being able to speak on that and getting back to his natural position, obviously everyone's rooting for him. He has a guy like Tristan Wirfs on his side, and that means more than we'll ever know. And just seeing how he handles himself day to day, being an all-pro, Pro Bowl tackle. So just great stuff from Goedeke, and just more insight into the other side that fans usually don't see on the field.
All right, and that's what we do here at Pewter Report. We bring you the insight from players, not just the press conferences, which can be all, crossing the T's and dotting the I's, being careful what you say. We're bringing the real stuff. We're going to take a quick second to thank our sponsors here at Celsius. We'll be right back. To the Pewter Report Podcast. We just had on Luke the Lifter, Luke Goedeke, Bucs right tackle on here. But welcome to the podcast, sponsored by Celsius Energy Drink. Celsius Live Fit, giving those essential vitamins and that sugar-free energy with no crash. Celsius, they've got all sorts of different flavors. Each one of them are amazing. You've got the vibes up there, tropical vibe, Arctic vibe, peach vibe, the OGs. They have the new vibes out with Oasis vibe, fantasy vibe, the sparkling lemon lime. You can get Celsius everywhere now. I mean, you just walk into a gas station, grocery store, health and fitness store. Even gyms will have them. You can also always find them at your local bodega. And you can get them on Amazon as well. Once you try the flavors you want, the best way to do it is to get them delivered to your doorstep every week, every month, as often as you drink them, with the subscribe and save option on Amazon. Get them delivered right to your doorstep. Don't even have to go out to get them. To purchase Celsius, you can go on pewterreport.com, click one of the Celsius banners. To find them in a store near you, go to Celsius Store Locator, and you can find them everywhere. But pretty much at this point, Celsius is the number one pick for Pewter Report. It's the number one pick for energy drink. And if you're not drinking Celsius by now, you're missing out, because it is the best energy drink on the market. That was an awesome interview with Luke. I really think this offense is going to tremendously help this offensive line, this new system. They're going from that power downhill scheme to that wide zone spread. It's going to allow these guys to get out in space. If you look at the draft picks and the players on this team, maybe outside Jensen, who's a little older in the tooth, they're guys who have good athleticism, can get out, climb to the second level. They'll be able to utilize them on pulls. They'll be effective in the screen game if they should run those, hopefully not as frequent as last year. But I really think that this offense is going to just help most of these offensive players thrive. I mean, it's an offense that you look around the league and it's a copycat offense. It's everywhere. It sets up the receivers to gain more yards after the catch. It allows the blocks to set up and give the backs that vision to find the hole, punch the hole, hit the hole, and go for the home run play, gain those yards. And it just makes everything easier because everyone's moving laterally on the line, and it allows you to use your vision and patience to see and set up those blocks. So I have high hopes for Luke Goedeke and everybody else on this line. I think that, with the coaching they have, they didn't get rid of Gilbert and they didn't get rid of Coach Goody for a reason. These are two good offensive line coaches in the league, and I don't think that the offensive line playing the running game was indicative of their coaching, more so indicative to poor play calling and over-reliance on a slowed down Leonard Fournette. So I'm excited to see what this offense can do, and talking to him and seeing what he's been working on and what he's been really kind of trying to hone in on. I think they're going to really surprise a lot of people. I know right now they're in the bottom rankings of a lot of national pundits, but we already struck those out if you go check out one of our latest columns over at Pewter Report.
You make some great points, and I think Tristan Wirfs said it best this week when he mentioned that the offense under Dave Canales, it's very player-friendly, and speaking to that, offensive line-friendly. And you have a very young offensive line, and besides Ryan Jensen, as you mentioned, you have Tristan Wirfs at left tackle, only 24 still. And then you have Cody Mauk and Luke Goedeke on the right side. So really athletic, agile offensive linemen. You've seen the clips of Cody Mauk at North Dakota State getting to the next level, playing past to the echo of the whistle and setting guys down. So it's going to be a more fun offense to watch. And just in general, the offense has gotten younger and faster. And replacing a slower Leonard Fournette with Rachaad White. Rachaad White, he's a sleeper running back this year. And you can definitely see that he has what it takes to become a breakout running back and put together a solid year. And you pair that with creative play calling from Dave Canales. You saw it in Seattle for years where they've had a successful running game with some kind of later round draft picks and Thomas Rawls and Chris Carson. So having a talent like Rachaad White's going to help tremendously. And then you have the best wide receiver duo in football and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So just a lot of weapons to play with. We spoke to Goedeke, and he's going to be one part of it. But as a whole, the offense looks to be in better position to average more than 18.4 points a game.
Yeah, you hope so. I mean, obviously, it comes down to Baker and it comes down to Trask, whoever wins that battle out. Being able to efficiently move the ball down the field, be that point guard of such, and be able to distribute without turning the ball over. But I think when you look at it, Rachaad White had him on last week. You can tell he's hungry. The drive is there. They brought in Chase Edmonds, who, while he had a down year last year between Miami and Denver, was really a good receiver out of the backfield and a good solid runner for the Cardinals the year prior. You look at Sean Tucker. I know a lot of people are excited about him and what he did at his time in Syracuse, dealing with that heart injury right now, waiting to get medically cleared. So he can get on the field, see what he can do. Got Keyshawn Vaughn still there, who has shown that he's got home run hitting ability, albeit on one play. Never really got enough of an opportunity. I'm not saying that he's going to be somehow turn around and be this great running back, but he's shown potential. And to get one of the biggest reasons he hasn't seen the field is because you had Rachaad White, you had Gio, and his pass blocking hasn't been up to snuff. So if he can get his pass blocking together, maybe he sees the field a little bit more. And my guy, sleeper, Ronnie Brown. Yeah. I mean, Ronnie Brown had over 4,000 yards over his last 2 seasons. He can do it out of the backfield. He can do it as a receiver. If you read the notes from minicamp the other day, 2 30-plus yard touchdowns down the field, catching the ball 30 yards, not running the ball 30 yards. And I think he's another guy who you can't discount out of this mix of running backs. Has looked really solid, and he brings that versatility. A guy who can play his teams, can return, who can catch, who can run.
I think you had the image he compared to like Christian McCaffrey really well in his measurables. Yeah,
in his measurables. I'm not going to go that far, but just talking to him too, he's hungry. He's coming in here and he's got that Rachaad White mentality. Rachaad White was a 3rd-round pick. Ronnie Brown is coming for Rachaad White's job. He's not coming in to accept as an undrafted free agent from a D school that he's going to just make the practice squad or make the number 4 job. He wants to start. So, when you look at those guys in the running back room, I think they have a good group. However, the ghost of O.J. Howard's past is about to be released. And while I don't think it's a realistic option for the Bucs, specifically because they don't have any money, I know they just signed their latter half of the draft, their 5 picks, but those guys, their numbers are going to replace the top 51 rule in the offseason is, only the top 51 contracts count. So they'll offset some other guys and they won't really count too much against that cap space, because I think the Bucs only have like 400,000 unless they did some magic work to open up more space. But like I said, I don't think they'll be able to afford them, but I think we got to at least mention Dalvin Cook as a outside of the box potential possibility. If the Bucs want to get really froggy, I think he'd be a perfect fit for this offense. Obviously, he had some health issues. Bucs fans wish they drafted him, the FSU kid, over O.J. Howard so many years ago. But what's your take on Dalvin Cook's scenario? Should we just already put him in a Dolphins jersey, or the Bucs have any outside shot at maybe getting him?
With the Dolphins, their coach, Mike McDaniel, always one for a great quote.
I saw that.
He didn't really mention Dalvin Cook being an option, and kind of having Raheem Mostert and some of those guys there. It's a likely destination, but I will say that Dalvin Cook at age 27, there's a lot more upside there than Ezekiel Elliott, who still sits on the market and was rumored to be a Bucs fit with running backs coach Skip Pete. If the Bucs could get Dalvin Cook, it would be more riches for the offense, but they seem very comfortable with Rachaad White for good reason. It's fun to think about, and I know the Pewter Report YouTube channel just posted a video from James Hill kind of talking about it, and it's it's a great fit on paper, as you mentioned, with like the zone running scheme,
Right.
getting him out in space, 1,000-yard seasons. He's been a really efficient rusher, but also there's the injury history.
Right.
And I believe there was an ACL tear. And with running backs, there's such a short lifespan. It's interesting to wonder why the Vikings decided to release him. Was it just for money, or do they know something behind the scenes? And they seem very comfortable with Alexander Madison as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen by any means. The Bucs fans, I'm not saying to look out for a Dalvin Cook signing, but he's going to get paid $2 million, a little over $2 million from the Vikings this season, as them part of them releasing him. And I know the Bucs have no cap space and need to, sign their rookies and have the money. We've already talked about this. They need to sign the rest of their rookies. They need to be able to afford practice squad, to be able to afford any in-season emergencies or anything like that. But you can find ways to open money if they really wanted to. I mean, the Saints are in perpetual cap hell every year. Right now they have $14 million in cap space somehow, while the Bucs are just sitting at the bottom of the league with $401,000, which they most likely just dipped into to sign the bottom half of the draft class. So, I mean, they can definitely make space if they wanted to bring him in. Obviously, he's not too far away. Playing his college ball in Tallahassee, up at FSU. If he wanted to come down here, maybe he feels miffed that the Bucs, didn't draft him and took O.J. Howard instead. But if he's willing to come on a cheap deal, I don't think he's going to get break the bank money. The most I feel like someone might pay him is $5 million this year, and the Bucs can easily afford something like that and spread that cap hit out with void years, etc. But I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't.
No.
However, the Bucs do have an open roster spot now after they released Jake Verity the other day. So there is an open roster spot, and just want to get your thoughts on what position you think that they could use to fill that roster spot. Could it be another running back to add to that group? Maybe a veteran tight end, because they don't have one of those on there. Nickel is still a big question mark. Christian Izien has been getting looks in there in mini camps. They also have Josh Hayes, who they drafted in the 6th round. D. Delaney's played there in a pinch as well. But, that's a position, safety, where they have 2 undrafted guys and Nolan Turner, a second-year player. Or do they just bring in another kicker to try to keep Chase McLaughlin's leg fresh and really not crown him the starting kicker after him coming in and getting a very minimal contract in free agency? What do you think the best spot for that final roster spot is going to be?
With mentioning the running backs before, there seems to be more promise with undrafted guys like you like Ronnie Brown and Sean Tucker. So maybe not running back, and that kind of puts aside Dalvin Cook. But you also brought up 2 positions that there's a lot of young talent, but there could be a veteran. Like getting a veteran would bring so much more to the group, and that would be tight end and safety. At the tight end room, you have Cade Otton. The Bucs drafted Payne Durham, but there isn't that Cam Brate or Kyle Rudolph that you saw on the team last year. And although they didn't produce maybe up to the level the team expected, having a veteran presence is huge in the locker room. And Cam Brate was one of the best locker room guys. So definitely could see tight end being a position in need. And also you have safety. So you brought up Chris Izien, Kayvon Merriweather, and Nolan Turner. Between the 3 of them, 1 career NFL tackle. Right. And that's from Nolan Turner. The Bucs like both the undrafted guys, but getting a veteran safety, maybe bringing back Logan Ryan when training camp rolls around, I still see that being an option on the veteran minimum. He played on that last year, comfortable in Todd Bowles' defense, and kind of a coach on the field.
Right.
Don't think it'll be him right now, but I would say probably either of those rooms. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think nickel right now is a spot where they're going to be starting a young player, whether that's a 3rd-year guy in D. Delaney or a rookie in Christian Izien or Joshua Hayes. I think when you look at that position right now, I feel better at tight end. Even with Cade Otton, in the 2nd season, is never going to be a top-tier guy. He's going to be a better blocker than Cam Brate, similar receiver. And Payne Durham, we have yet to see what he can do in pads. Obviously a big red zone threat. But I think nickel right now, you look at this team, and that's the one spot you're like, whoa. Like if one of these young guys don't pan out, they have nobody there. And that means most likely making a shift of Antoine Winfield back there, or moving Ryan Neal there. And maybe that's a contingency plan because Ryan Neal has played there too. He's going to start at strong safety, but I think you got Kayvon Merriweather, who they're high on and who has been making plays in almost every OTA we've been at.
Yeah.
Who's more that strong safety type role. So maybe, they have some. I'm sure they have some contingency plans. Maybe Logan Ryan's one of them. You look out on the free agent market, you've got guys like Troy Hill, who was with the Rams, and Bryce Callahan, who was with the Los Angeles Chargers the last couple of years. Both of those guys are more known as nickel cornerbacks, so maybe they look into one of those guys. There's also the dude, I forget his name right now off the top of my head, that was released by Pittsburgh, who can play that nickel too, play it pretty well. So there's some contingency plans in free agency, including Logan Ryan or some more of those nickel safeties that they could look at. The fact that they didn't take one in the draft at all was kind of surprising, especially when they are linked to so many of them, like Quan Martin, Sidney Brown, Brian Branch. The list goes on. So, they have to – that's the one spot that I think they need to solidify on this roster. I think I've seen enough from Chase McLaughlin throughout his career, especially last year. Obviously, that was in a dome. We have to see, as Todd Bowles said, what he looks like in the wind. But, I think you're good there. I don't really see the need to, unless you just want to keep his leg fresh. But you got jugs machines for that too. They're really going out there and kicking, maybe 10 to 20 field goals a practice, if that, when they're doing situational work. So I don't think you're going to wear out his leg too much, to be honest. I'm sure they might bring someone in. They do have 2 long snappers, and what do you need 2 long snappers for? So maybe one of those guys gets cut. I doubt it's going to be Triner with his experience with Everett and his connection with a guy like Jake Camarda. So I don't think that's going to be a situation. One thing I want to get in here real quick before we end the show, and I think it's highly unlikely, but there have been rumors out there, and of course they're media-filled rumors. There's nothing coming from one Buck place at all that we know from Advent Health Training Center. But Devin White has missed all of OTAs, and alongside of him was Levante David, who's missed all of OTAs. He's a veteran. He doesn't need to be there. But KJ Britt surprisingly has missed a lot of OTAs, at least to the public, or to the press and the media. When we've been there, we haven't seen him out there, which has stepped up and given Servassier Dennis a brilliant opportunity to showcase what he can do. He's been getting the system down early. He's been very vocal out there. He's been making plays out there. Most importantly, is there a realm of possibility, especially let's say Devin White doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, that Bowles says, well, you're not just going to go out there in training camp. You got to get in football shape. Servassier Dennis starts to line up next to Levante David, and they just look like a match made in heaven. Do you think that there's any way that Devin White gets traded? Servassier maybe starts even as soon as this year. I mean, it's throwing it out there. It's all speculative. But do you think that that's a world of possibility we might live in?
I think it is. And it's going to be interesting next week what happens at mandatory minicamp, because Todd Bowles, he made a statement. He said he expects every player to be out there next week. And you understand with Levante David being a Grizzly vet, him not being out there getting rest and all that. But Devin White, this is his prove it year. This is when he wants to get on the market and get that $100 million deal. So if he isn't out there next week, it creates a dilemma for the Bucs. And do they want to continue playing this game? Is he going to hold out with training camp looming in just a couple months? So if he's not out there next week, Servassier Dennis, he's really been impressive, making that one-handed interception not too long ago. And you don't want to put too much hope in a 5th-round pick, but Servassier Dennis, he's been a really impressive player so far, and it will be interesting to see if Devin White is there next week, because that's a wild card there.
Yeah, the ball's in Devin's court. He needs to show up, and he needs to put up the stats, and he needs to put up just a solid, consistent year, and it starts, in off-season work. But, guys, I think this was one of the best Pewter Report podcasts we ever did. We had Luke the Lifter on for the first 40 minutes, just chatted up a little bit about this Bucs offense, Bucs defense, and potential signings and stuff like that they could do with that open roster spot. But I want to thank you guys all for being here. Obviously, follow all of our coverage here. We got the best coverage in all of Tampa Bay. I sincerely mean that. When you look at the hard work everyone puts in, you look at the additions we've made with Sly and with Josh and with James Hill and Bailey and myself going past. Scott knows how to assemble superheroes, and I think this team is definitely an amazing team to be a part of. So I want to thank all you guys for that. Thank all the listeners. Thanks to all the viewers. Follow us if you're not already. I'm sure most of you are on Twitter at Pewter Report. Our Instagram is popping on Pewter Report over there. Facebook, go check out Facebook. We've got a really cool thing that we're going to start to do every Friday, Caption Fridays over there. We've got some quizzes going on Instagram. YouTube at Pewter Report TV. If you're watching on Facebook or if you're watching on Twitter, find your way over here. This is the spot to be at. Guys, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We want to thank all of you guys for being a part of this podcast as always. With that being said, last podcast of the week, so we won't see you till Monday. We'll have recap of mandatory minicamp all next week. It's going to be a great time. So for Sly, for Luke earlier, for myself, we're out of here. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Out.